Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dream Oracle for You. This is episode 19, and we're very excited for today. Today is just going to be a quiet day with Biljana and I. We've had a great start to the year with lots of guests, but we've taken a little bit of a break just for Biljana and I to talk about a couple things that have been on our mind that have come up in the past several weeks. And today's topic is going to be about past lives, and trauma. So, buckle up. We hope you enjoy today's episode. And as always, we're just going to let it flow. And to kick things off, Biljana, as always, do you have something to say before we get rolling?
Well, I'm excited as always to jump on here, and after the two episodes we've had, it's just nice for us to just touch base and just chat about you know whatever we talk about, and yeah, so I'm excited about that, and yeah, the past lives and the trauma have been coming up a lot lately for myself, so I thought, oh, maybe it'd be good to touch base and yeah, and see if it resonates with anyone else that's listening. So we've got a few more subscribers and people commenting and getting involved. So we're really excited to be able to share what's happening for us energetically at the moment. So yeah,
Yeah, that was beautifully said. And definitely thank you for pointing out our subscribers. Every time I get a sub, it's like I message Biljana. I was like, we got another one. Because it's definitely exciting getting to have this platform where we get to talk about anything dream related because we're both very passionate about dreams and we're passionate about personal growth and learning from our dreams, all of the above. And definitely the past few episodes, I've found that providing a platform for others to talk and share about their dreams and how it impacts them and how you can learn and grow from them has been just really beautiful, I think, to offer that platform. And so definitely happy and excited to continue
yeah,
on
absolutely.
with this
Yeah,
podcast as we're doing. So
yeah,
where
I'm
shall we?
excited. I got my mum subscribed. I just nagged her like, "Come on, mum, like subscribe, listen to our podcast. You might learn something."
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely yesterday I was getting a friend. She said that she's been watching. She has a newborn baby, and she's been watching just a lot of TV shows. And she said she's kind of getting bored with the TV shows. She likes to have a TV show on while she's like cooking or baking or whatnot. And I was like, oh, you need to listen to our podcast. You can have that on in the background while you're cooking and baking. And so she was. I. It's funny. I actually told her about the podcast before I started it. So that would have been like over a year ago or not quite a year ago. And so she's like, "Oh, you actually did it." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So anyway, hopefully she's subscribing and liking as well, but I think she's a Spotify viewer and I told her I was like, "We need Spotify viewers too." Eh,
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, hopefully, like, doesn't matter how many subscribers we get, but hopefully it gets to the people that resonate with it. And it's not just about us, it's about being able to get other people on, or even, like Trevor and I were talking about, and we're talking about this the last episode, going and just talking to people down the street and just really getting a real feel for where people are at, what they interested, what kind of dreams they have and what they want to know about themselves. So yeah, that's why it's kind of pushing me to even just go and ask random questions to random people.
Absolutely. No, it's
Yeah.
it's it's super. Where do you
Yeah.
want to start with today's topic on past lives?
Well, I don't have to tell. Well, I mentioned that TV show I was watching, and I suppose it started to um, bring up like certain dreams that I've had, experiences when I'm awake, and it feels so real. Like, having a vivid dream, it feels so real. And even when you're awake, you're like, I have deja vu, like on a regular basis. Every week I have deja vu. So I'm like, is that a past life? Is that a memory? And or have I don't know what it is. So I thought, that could be something we could explore today a little bit more. And the TV shows the Devil's Hour, and it explores this lady that has real vivid dreams, and she thinks it's she's foreseeing the future as their premonitions of the future. So it's a bit of, past life, premonition, kind of all tied into one. I don't want to spoil it if anyone wants to watch it, but it's really good. So yeah, that's kind of sparked all these dreams and experiences I'm having, thinking about past lives and how they exist in our reality. So yeah, what's your take on past lives?
Yeah, just give me a second here. I'm taking a couple notes because I had some things come in. Um, I think this is gonna tie in. I find it hard to talk or think about past lives for one reason, and I guess it's technically two reasons. Number one is that we don't really know what reality is. We have the idea that resonates with us. Maybe you're having communication with source, or you're just having some sort of intuitive feelings that are coming through that makes you think what this reality is. And as we talk about past lives, and then you were saying, there's deja vu, and like, is it a past life? Is it a memory? But then you talked about the devil's hour and having those premonitions for future thing. And I'm like, well, technically a past life could technically be a future life experience, right? And so it throws my head in a loop sometimes when you start thinking about the existence of other lives and timelines, because beyond this reality, as I've said many times on this podcast, past, present, future, all kind of coexist at the same time. There's only the now, but the now could be a past life, or the now could be a future. And it's like, how do you discern which one's which? And something that's come up recently, I don't know if this was when we were having the episode with Trevor or if it's come up somewhere else, and maybe when I was listening to one of the episodes with Melissa Johnson. Fortunately, I didn't write down the name of that episode, but we'll do that for when we talk to her next episode, by the way, the Dream Hub, as a teaser for our guests. But they were talking about how it's kind of like little bits of your soul is having an experience at the same time as what we're experiencing here, which really it's like so hard to wrap my head around, because we're in this physical reality, we're having a 3D physical experience, but yet then there's a part of us that's having another 3D experience. Like I don't really know. And then when you dream, or if you have deja vu, are you tapping into that part of your soul? Because we're all part of well, I mean, we're all part of source, I guess, if you really want to zoom out all the way. So, there's Sarah in this reality right now. There's Biljana in this reality. But then connected to that kind of parallel will be a part of us across many different timelines and past lives and future lives and all of the above. And then you zoom out from that and they're all connected to source. And it's just like it's it
Yeah.
like I literally said to my fiance last night, because we talk about dimensions and timelines a lot. I mean, I don't think he really believes that they exist because he doesn't have that physical proof yet, but he still indulges the conversation. And I was like, I think I need to start watching more Doctor Strange, because I feel Doctor Strange is like the closest to figuring out the infinite possibilities that exist for the realities. Anyway, I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think to sum up, it can be confusing when you're talking about different timelines, past lives, future lives, deja vu, all of the above.
Yeah, and that's right. That's perfectly put because there is no straight answer. And that's why these are so good. Like we're trying to figure it out. We don't know we're just going off what we experience, what we feel, what we think, all of that. But I think it was the last episode, but you were talking about like timelines and how they're stacked on top of each other. And when you said that, I was like, well, and after watching this TV show, I was like, I'm just getting all these snippets coming from different places, and it's really, I sit with it for a little bit, see if it resonates, and do a little bit of reading, talk with other people, and just, yeah, slowly getting all these different ideas. So it's not just a straightforward answer. And that's the whole part of this. This is why it's fun. So I've mentioned a dream with you, and we might have talked about it in one of the early episodes. And I was telling you about it, and you said to me, and this is where I didn't really know the interpretation of the dream. You said it might have been two different lives, like because it was in the daytime and it switched to nighttime. So you were talking possibly about past lives, or like, yeah, past memory or future memory. And I was like, that's quite interesting. So um, we don't have to talk about that dream, but that's kind of been still in the back of my mind, that sort of dream. You're dreaming about all these different lives all in one go because our body holds so much memory. So if we still feel it in our body, we're whatever you think about reincarnation or anything like that, if you're bringing your traumas from different past lives, it's still going to be in your body, like it's still going to be in your energetic signature, for lack of a better word. So, yeah, maybe that's how it stays within us, carries through these lives, through through that in that way. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that resonates a lot. And, the more we pull back the layers of this and try to understand reality, and, you know, I guess on this journey that I'm on currently, this awakening journey, whatever you want to call it, for me, it's all about waiting. I don't know if waiting is the right word, but allowing some emotion, trauma, memory, whatever it is to come to the surface and then being able to deal with it and then release the energy. Because, like you said, it stays in your body, it's going to have an impact. And if we don't deal with it now, in future lives, next reincarnation, even past lives, because I feel like what we do in this current timeline affects us across the board. And when I say across the board, I mean each other essence of us in other timelines or wherever it may be. So dealing with the trauma and having the safety, I don't know if it's the right word, having the, it's, if you're going through trauma, that's not the time to deal with the trauma, right? So if you're at a place where, you're safe, you're comfortable, you have everything that you need life-wise, that you can pick away at it and deal with these traumas, then that's going to help us in this timeline and across others. And I'm just trying to think. I thought I had something else to say there. I did, but what was it? Um,
But no,
oh,
I agree. While you're trying to think of it, you got it?
I think I got it. I was gonna
Yeah.
get a little bit vulnerable. Do I really want to talk about this? Are you sure I want to talk about this? Okay. Do you ever have that like internal monologue with yourself? Like, is this something I really want to do right now? And then you like let your intuition say yes or no, and then you just go for it, whatever your intuition says.
I think if I go off, like, if I'm nervous about it, I'm like, I have to do it because it's
Hmm.
something I need to do, but I'm very apprehensive.
Hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I will. We're talking about, pulling away the layers with dealing with past life trauma. And, without going through some sort of past life hypnotism, or I know that there's different modalities out there in which you can bring actual past life memories to the surface. So without going through that, obviously the whole point of this podcast is we're talking about dreams. And so one way that we can be exposed to past lives is by seeing it through our dreams, I guess. But I guess I'm wanting to focus a little bit on trauma at the moment and something that I've realized for myself. My whole life, I've been avoiding procreating, if you will. You know, not it was not something that fully resonated with me. Part of that was my mom had me at a very young age, and she didn't get to, you know, go to school, have a career, all of those sort of things. She just had me at a young age and had to dedicate her life to raising me, which is great. Um, and I vowed at a very young age that I wasn't going to do that, that I was going to make sure that I became successful and that I, was great financially before I would even consider becoming a mom. And, with my fiance and I having a house now and, just moving on in life, one of those next stages is to start thinking about starting a family. And that's been a point of a little bit of fear and a little bit of anxiety for me. And I thought that it had to deal with, just spending my whole life trying my best not to end up in that situation where you're starting a family before you're ready to start a family, I guess. But what I have come to realize very recently is that it could actually be past life trauma related, and where perhaps I was forced to have a child in the past when I wasn't ready, and that's not something that I had like fully on dealt with. So I tried something. Even though I don't know for sure if that is a past life experience that I had, I'm like, okay, well, source, if this is something that I need to deal with, then I'm gonna release it. I'm going to, you know, that's not the way it is in this lifetime. I don't need to hold on to that energy. I can just like release it. And that fear and anxiety went away. So, me and my fiance are strongly considering starting a family now. And I do not feel like a deer in the headlights like I have before now. And this is very new development, literally within the past few days of reaching that point. I guess the question is, have I had any dreams that have led me to that? I feel like yes, but they're not coming to the surface. But I think so I've shared a bit about recognizing a trauma that could actually be a past life trauma that once you release it, then, it can have a significant impact in your overall well-being and how you're feeling in your body. But I think our focus for our episode is how you can use your dreams to recognize that to then move on and recover from that. Sorry, that was a big monologue, but
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, and I resonate with that because, like, in regards to not wanting to have children, I was the same. Like growing up in a very toxic, I suppose, and very hard family unit. So, like, a lot of stress and tension and everything. So, as I got older, I just, like, even in my early teens, not wanting to bring a child into this world, I didn't want them to experience a similar thing. And two, I felt that I wasn't good enough to even go through that. Like, I don't deserve that sort of thing. So, that's definitely come from my environment, but I feel like it's come from past life as well because I've had dreams about children. Always have dreams about children, and I still working out if that's uh children maybe in my past lives that I've had, or it's always me saving the child. So is it me saving my younger self to um sorry. um yeah, so where was I? Yeah, so it's like I always have a dream about a child and me saving that child, and I feel like it's yeah, it's my inner child, possibly from maybe another lifetime, coming to this lifetime. So, and those dreams are very vivid, and they're something that still stick in my mind, and I feel like it's something I need to deal with before I even have my own child in this lifetime. So I look at that as like a stepping stone, like, okay, if I can have a dream that then I am, sitting down with this child and have a good experience, then I feel like in myself that I've accomplished something and I'm a bit more whole. And then I
Hmm.
can go the next step of possibly, having a child of my own. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it makes sense. I was definitely getting that, and I got this the last time, I think, when we, or not the last time, the first time we really talked about this particular dream you're talking about. It's definitely one of our earlier episodes for sure. Um, but I'm definitely getting that they were actually your children, either in this lifetime or future. Who knows? Because as we said, the lines of lifetimes seem to blend. Um, but yeah, I definitely feel that it's your actual children, and I think the fact that you said that it's kind of showing you that you can have or what it's like to have a good relationship with a child. And I know you've mentioned about your own childhood and how that's not exactly how you want to have a child raised. And we actually talked a lot about that with Trevor as well, with his experience in growing up and how he's trying to provide a much better platform. Platform's not the right word, but trying to provide a much better environment to raise his child. And yeah, where's my point with that? Um, but I like how,
Well,
the dreams can bring that to the surface, right? Can bring even if we don't fully aren't fully able to decode the dream, it's as we've talked about before, dreams are very, very personal and it's like it's your higher self or a part of your soul or your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, that's finding a way to communicate with you to bring to your awareness what needs to come to your awareness. So even if we don't have a full decoding of the dream and we don't fully know if it was a past life or a future life, there's something in that dream that comes into your awareness that even in that moment you might not understand, but then later on resonates and you can grow from there.
yeah, yeah, totally agree with that. So yeah, and they're so linked, like the past lives and trauma, like because they're linked together. So um yeah, a lot of people that go through trauma in their childhood, it's definitely passing through generations, like through even just your grandparents and your parents as well. Not necessarily your past life, but and that's what it's so great now that so many people are questioning things, are taking responsibility for themselves and really asking these questions of themselves to go, I don't want to pass this on to my children. I don't want to, pass these negative influences onto the people around me. I want to be a better influence and yeah, and be able to help people not make things worse. So it's really good to see that so many people are trying to do that for themselves in the best way that they know, the best capacity, whatever they know at the time. We haven't got our shit together all the time. So it's all we can do is try and be better each day and having that drive to want to, regardless of where you are. So it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole point we're here, right? Is to learn and to grow. And again, coming back to dreams, really, and I mean, we're going to talk to Melissa about this, so maybe I should save some of these conversations for her. But she talks about dream therapy, and I think we're going to hear her story a little bit more in detail next week, or when we talk to her. Um, But my understanding is that for her, dreams really became a form of therapy. And I know that there is a thing called dream therapy for people. And as I said, dreams are very personal. There is not going to be anybody out there who knows you any better than you do, than your higher self does, than your soul does. And once you learn the language of your dreams, then, every single night you go to sleep is an opportunity to be having an 8 hour therapy session. You know? Um, and it just becomes a kind of like brushing your teeth and having a shower, having dream reflection, dream recording as part of your daily routine is the initial steps to be able to use dream therapy to figure out, what needs to come to the surface and to ultimately grow from it. Um, yeah, so you need to have a pen and paper by your nightstand because I don't recommend having your phone in the room for obvious reasons, but um, a pen and paper on your nightstand, and even if you write down one word, that word could be the one piece of information, the one decoding language that you need to help you uncover what needs to be uncovered.
Yeah. And that's so good. Like I go back through my dream journal and there's be just random like 3 sentences, 3 word sentences and a number over here and I've drawn a picture of a symbol that it's just burnt into my mind and I just draw that and down the track it might make sense when it's supposed to make sense. So it's quite fun to go back and read all your entries, but like from a couple of years ago and you think, was that really, did I write that? Like it's just in a different language of like how you speak to then how you're writing at the time. So it's really helpful to reminisce and also understand yourself a lot more because you may talk and write differently. So when you're writing, I feel like if you're just free flowing with your writing, you're expressing your soul a lot more than having to use your mind to find words to describe something. So it's just flowing naturally and just coming out. May not make sense to when you read it out loud, but when you read it, it makes complete sense. So yeah, but I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you had any like real traumatic dreams? You don't have to describe the dreams.
Hmm.
Real traumatic or like thing that has kind of made you unsettled when you've woken up? And if you have, how did you deal with it?
Ooh, it's a great question. Um, yeah, the answer is definitely yes. To answer the question, like yes, that I've had those dreams. How do you deal with it? It's a hard question to answer because you needed to have asked the Sarah 6 months ago that question before I've grown to where I am now, I guess. So I'm trying to remember how past me would have dealt with these things because I mean, I guess I still have an answer for it. Ultimately, it's it's having faith and acceptance that everything is exactly how it's supposed to be and happen when it's supposed to happen. And it's you have to just have complete trust in that. And if you don't have complete trust and faith that everything is going to be okay or everything is exactly how it's supposed to be, then that's when you're living in fear and anxiety. And when you live in fear and anxiety, as we talked with Trevor, that leaks into your dream state and more of those energies come to you. So, you always have a choice. You get to choose to live in fear and anxiety, which as we talked about with Trevor, anger becomes a blanket for sadness and whatnot, or a shield, a cover. Or you can live oppositely, which is to live in faith and trust with love and happiness and all of those, the opposite side on the energy spectrum. With all emotions, you have to let them be. Like emotions are like a wave. They have to move. So, if you wake up from a dream that's super super scary that has you in tears, waking up in tears, or you were crying in the dream and then you wake up in tears, you have to let that flow. You have to let that come and to be, but the key is not to dwell on it, to let the emotion come out and then be able to like step back and be like, okay, why was this scary? Or why did this bring me fear? You have to ask the questions. You have to ask why. And then once you ask why, you have to also under have some sort of understanding. It's hard because it kind of depends on the dream scenario, I guess, and what the emotion is that it's trying to bring to the surface. But yeah, I mean, I think I've talked about my tornado dreams before, and this is probably a good point to talk about them. I genuinely am, or used to be, I don't know if I still am afraid of tornadoes, but definitely used to be very afraid of tornadoes. And I lived for 8 years in Florida. Newfoundland doesn't really get tornadoes. Canada in general, at least Atlantic Canada, doesn't really see tornadoes. You get tornadoes in what's called Tornado Alley, which is kind of down the middle of the US and Florida in particular. Gets tornadoes because you have the the Gulf of St. Lawrence, which is warm water, and then you have the Atlantic Ocean, which is cold water, and they meet in the middle, and that can create your perfect conditions for tornadoes. And tornadoes are very violent and destructive. And if you've got a wooden house, especially if you live in a trailer park, not that I live in a trailer park, but I bring this up because there was like a devastating tornado that hit Florida, I think in 1992. So before I lived there, but it's like one of those ones that they talk a lot about. And it just devastated an entire trailer park, and it was just like popsicle sticks everywhere, just very destructive. There's also Twister, which I think Tim made that comment in the nightmare episode we had where he said that I'm afraid of the like when we talked about scary movies and Twister scares me. And I've had this like intense fear of tornadoes from a young child. But maybe I had a past life where I was in a tornado. Who knows? Anyway,
Maybe.
yeah, it could be. Anyway, so I've had dreams about tornadoes throughout my whole life. And then it's only been in the last year, and I'm pretty sure I've already told this story on the episode, but for those first hearing it for the first time, as I started to have a shift in how I view life and choose to live life, as I started to shift away from fear and anxiety, my tornado dreams also shifted where, I wasn't running and hiding and waking up in a sweat. Instead, I was just like ready and allowing the storm to just come and knowing it'll be what it'll be and accepting whatever that fate is. And then I wake up from those dreams and feeling empowered really because you're like, huh, I didn't run away from that, kind of thing. Anyway, um, that's
Yeah,
that's a
that's good. Yeah, I like that. And for me, when I've had nightmares or just real bad dreams, which I don't have them very often anymore, I wake up kind of feeling different, like something shifted in me. But when I was like very stressed with my daily life, I wish I had someone to be able to talk to about my dreams, or even just be there and just be able to talk through those sorts of things. So I think that's like a super important thing is like having someone to talk to. about your dreams and even your daily life. Like that's a super important thing. So, and if you don't have that, for us having this podcast, people can come to and listen and gain insights and tools and that sort of thing. Also, like after you've woken up from like a dream that's been real traumatic, is to be kind to yourself, like go and get a hot drink or like your favorite drink or your food and just go and sit and do something for yourself. Like whether it's read a book, go for a walk, go to drive to your favorite cafe, watch your favorite movie. I think that's super important because it's bringing it back to yourself, like looking after yourself. Self care is so important. And yeah, I think if someone said that to me, like if you had a bad dream, go and do something for yourself, and not to just cheer yourself up and just be positive. I think we're supposed to experience the good and the bad, but just having that bit of a reminder that it's okay. You're still here. It's just a bad dream, because the last thing we need is to brush off those dreams because they are so prevalent to our everyday life. It's things that we haven't dealt with. So we really need to accept it, but and be aware that it is things that we have to deal with in our everyday life, and yeah, definitely loving yourself a little bit more, um, in whatever way that it is for you. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that totally resonates to be kind to yourself and and to remember that it's just a dream. And it's weird to say that because it could be just a memory. Dreams can definitely be memories. And again, I like to just come back to always having a choice, you know. You can choose to wake up from a bad dream or even just be having a bad memory. And if you choose to dwell on it, the law of attraction is going to bring more of that energy to you. So if you dwell on the trauma, if you dwell on, you know, a past life experience or the bad memory, bad dream, whatever it is, if you dwell on it, you're going to bring more of that energy to you and you're going to end up digging a hole that's going to be harder and harder to come back out of. And I really wish I knew where I heard this recently, but it's just the concept of, you know, if you if something goes wrong, you've got what's it, 3,000 plus minutes in a day. And if something happens and it's only like a minute out of your day and that one bad thing has happened, you know, don't let that one bad moment ruin the other 3,000 moments in your day. And if you can just flip the switch to then focus on something positive that has happened, again, the law of attraction is going to come into play. And it's whatever you're focusing on, it's thoughts become things, is kind of the general concept of the law of attraction. So whatever you're focused on, more of that is going to come. So if you're focused on the bad, bad is going to come in other forms, whether that's bad energy, bad mood, bad things happening, more bad dreams, more trauma. You're going to keep on bringing that in. But if you can flip the switch and focus on something more positive and really focus on that, then more positive things are going to happen. And, I hope I'm not, and I definitely don't mean to belittle any, intense trauma that people have gone through. And I know that post-traumatic stress syndrome is something very, very real. And I am definitely not an expert and probably have no grounds to talk on that level of stress and trauma. But for your everyday normal stressors and normal trauma that you go through, if you can flip the switch, and it's literally a switch, we talked about it last episode where, fear and love are on the same spectrum. You just need to flip it over. If you can do that, then you're on the journey to healing and releasing that trauma, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, we're always trying to figure it out and heal. So it's yeah, bring it back to that choice, and you'll it's up to you whether you want to choose to do better in your life and learn from if your dreams, if you see them as past experiences, to learn from those experiences in your dreams to then not bring that into your daily life. So, you could look at it that way rather than as just it's a traumatic experience. It's like, oh, it's a lesson to learn. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely lessons to learn is the way to focus on that. I just had a thought that came in and it left as quickly as it came in, as they do. Um, I'm gonna bring it back then because I forgot what I wanted to say in this moment. So I feel like we've kind of said the same thing anyway for the last few minutes, just in slightly different ways.
Yep. Yeah,
So
no, I get that.
this this is related to trauma, but I don't have any examples of how it's like necessarily related to dreams. But I guess we can always tie back in the dreams by saying, if you pay attention to your dreams and you try to listen to what they're trying to tell you, even if it's just one symbol, one word, or something that can help trigger a whole profound lesson or experience, that's always going to be related to any trauma or whatnot, because bad dreams are typically going to be related to some form of trauma, whether it's this life or past lives. But I wanted to talk about the concept with trauma where you mentioned how we bring stuff forward from past lives. And the term that I've heard for something like that, it's called generational trauma. You've heard that term before? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And the most prevalent example that comes to mind when I think about that is it's here in Canada. The term comes up quite frequently when we talk about our indigenous cultures and you know how the white man arrived in North America and killed a lot of indigenous folks, took the children in Canada alone, even up until the mid 90s. Children were still being taken from their parents, taken to what's called a residential school, and which blows my mind because I was a kid, in elementary school in the mid 90s. So to to learn many 20 years later that there were these schools that existed where the state and churches would take kids from their families to then get the Indian out of the child and to destroy their culture and to just create so much trauma and pain for that entire family is totally mind blowing. And I'm I don't even know what to say with how I feel about that. I wish it never had happened. But that has brought in so much generational trauma for our indigenous population in Canada. And I know Australia has their own struggles with that as well. Um, I feel like I should have more of a point here, but I just wanted to bring up how, you know, all of the kids that have survived residential schools, they were taken from their families. They weren't shown love. They were shown quite a bit of abuse. They probably witnessed their friends or people their own age who did not make it through the residential schools. And now those those children have now grown up, become adults, and perhaps have kids of their own, but they're still bringing that trauma with them. You know, it's a very sad situation, very traumatic. Um, and making this episode go very deep all of a sudden. But when we talk about past lives and bringing trauma forward, although I don't have any concrete memories myself of past lives and trauma that is brought forward, I do feel like there's a little bit. But when I think of generational trauma, that is the trauma that comes to my mind very vividly, not the right word, but you know, it is very real.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And like I've got first-hand experience of how trauma can influence even just in 2 generations, 3 generations, and not necessarily past lives. So like my background, Serbian, Slovenian, and so my dad's side it's Serbian. And there was the war over in Serbia not long ago, really, you know. And so when my dad moved to Australia when he was only, I think, 11, and there was obviously the war happened. I can't remember what year it was, but growing up, he had a dislike for the Croatian people. And so that kind of passed down to us. Or they tried to, like, just always, you see someone down the street and you know their background, they're Croatian, we're taught to just hate them automatically for no reason. Like, there's no war happening in Australia, nothing bad has happened. And we're just automatically that trauma is going to be passed down to us unless we as the kids like reject that and go, no, that doesn't have to be, we don't have to carry that on. Like, nothing has happened to us. So yeah, that, like, firsthand I saw that, and just a real like trauma and anger in my dad, and not just him but the people around. um yeah, it was quite fascinating to watch, not in a good way, just fascinating to just observe and, yeah, experience it myself. Like, even for a little time when I was younger, I always used to not like Croatian people, but I didn't know why. I'm like, I'm supposed to hate them for some reason. Not until I got a little bit older, and then I start questioning these things. So I get how these can be passed down through generations in a lifetime, um, but also, your past lives as well. So it can really, yeah, you can really absorb it into your body, because of the environment around you. It's quite fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Whew, got a a little bit of a heavy topic today. But I guess to be expected with the main topic being past lives and trauma. Where do we go from here?
Um, I'm pretty happy with what we've talked about. So I don't know if you have anything to add, but yeah, I feel like what we've talked about is just exactly what we needed to just kind of touch on. And we're, like you say, we're not experts, and unless we've go down and do a lot of research and experience it, it's hard to just talk anecdotally. Um, you really have to experience it to be able to explain things. And for people listening, we want to be able to explain things in a way they understand and it resonates with them. Like, like we could easily just get a document and just read everything about past lives and trauma relating to dreams. But it'd be really good to just have things that people can resonate with. So I'm really happy with what we talked about today. So if you have anything to add, more than happy to chat more on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have anything to add, but maybe we just want to recap. some of our takeaway messages um, in dealing with trauma that may come up from past lives, may just come up in general. Do you just want me to try to do that, or and if
Yeah,
I miss
yeah,
some
sure, go
things,
for it.
you can fill in or whatnot. So for our listeners today, hope you've enjoyed today's episode. It is a little bit of a heavy episode, but we just like to recap some key points, and that is the importance of dream work, dream therapy, you know, um, paying attention to your dreams and knowing that your dreams can tell you things. There can be messages in your dreams. There can be little keys, little pieces of the puzzle to help you uncover things that you need to deal with, to bring things to the surface. Um, and like always, one way that you can have your dreams help do the work for you is by you learning to remember them and working. And this is a skill, it's not like a muscle in anything, you know. You go to the gym, you're not going to be able to lift the 50-pound weight right from the get-go. I actually don't know if I could lift the 50-pound weight myself at any point in time, but maybe the 25 I could manage. But I definitely don't start out lifting a 25-pound weight. You start out with something small and then gradually build up to it. So, and that's like anything you're trying to accomplish in life. You start small and then grow bigger. So, first step in being able to remember your dreams, pen and paper next to the bedside. Must. You can't wake up from a dream and be like, "Oh, I just had a dream," and then you'll want to write it down later. It's not going to happen. So, pen and paper next to your bedside. Even if you write down one word a night for weeks on end, you are working on dream work. You're training your brain to be like, okay, I had a dream. What did I dream about? All I remember is I dreamt about a red balloon. Perfect. Good place to start. Start writing it down. Dating it is helpful in case, you know, you later on have something figured out and you want to be able to go back. What was I doing at that particular date? Anyway, writing it down, reflecting on it, reaching out to us. We're more than happy to help you try to figure out your dreams. I will preface this by saying, you know, I'm not, and Biljana are not fully decoding your dreams. As we've talked about, dreams are completely personal and really only you know what the messages are. But as experienced dream reflectors, I will say, we can probably point you in the right direction. So write down your dreams. Know that your dreams can have messages to help you uncover what needs to be uncovered, and remember to flip the switch. If you're going through a bad time in your life, if you're having a bad moment, if you wake up from a bad dream, if there's some trauma you have to deal with, don't focus on the negative. Flip it somehow. Find a way to find the silver lining, make it positive, and promise you things will get much better. Biljana, did I miss any of the recap? I feel like I added more in there, but
No, perfectly well said. It was just perfectly cherry on top.
oh, thank you, Biljana. Do you have anything else on your heart for today?
All I want to say is it's not really relevant to this episode, but I just want to say thank you to you, you know, like inviting me on here. Like it's been such a great experience so far. And I know I say thank you all the time, but I like to always keep saying thank you because it's helping me find my own words. You know, I sometimes I take a bit to pick a word. It's because for so long I haven't had the opportunity to speak my truth, to speak what's on my mind. And and the more I get this opportunity to do this, you know, you're such a great listener. So yeah, it's such a great opportunity to be able to talk about dreams and anything that's on my mind. So thank you. And yeah, like we've said before, if anyone wants to contact us and want to jump on and chat about dreams, we're more than happy to facilitate that because yeah, we love talking to anyone, you know. So yeah,
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Biljana. Right back at you. Thank you for answering my email and agreeing to be on this podcast. And, you know, this podcast has really become our podcast now. It's you are my co-host, or we co-host Dream Oracle for you together. Very thankful to have you as part of this journey. I feel that in a past life we decided we were gonna do it in this lifetime, and so here we are. Um, yeah, truly thank you, Biljana, as well, because I think it definitely resonates with me in this being a platform where we get to share our thoughts, share ideas, whatever it is, dream related, personal growth related, it's all interconnected. And I am very proud that we can offer that platform, not only for you and I, but anyone else who wants to come on to the show. We have an open schedule. We have some dates in March and April. We're booked up until March anyway, I think. We have a couple dates in March. So yeah, contact us. We'd love to have you on. Everybody dreams. Even if you don't remember them, everybody dreams. And so therefore, anybody can be on this show, and we'd love to have you on and just talk about dreams and talk about whatever comes to the surface. Once again, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We hope you all enjoyed today's show, and look out because we're just getting started in 2025. Next week, we will have a special guest on and another guest a couple weeks after that, and it just keeps getting better. So please just keep on dreaming, everyone.